anthropomorphic, which means human, qualities to something which is not human. So basically, you got to take like an inanimate object, which can be a chair, it could be your cell phone, something that's not alive, right? Or you could take an animal or a plant and you give them human qualities. Okay, so like if you were an example, like what are some of the things that a sneaker may say? And I always like to make jokes. Well, a sneaker would say life stinks because they constantly got a foot in it and stuff like that, or I'm constantly being stepped on. So an example might be the wind climbed into the tree, curling up on a hidden branch and crying out a long and mournful lament of loneliness. Now, the wind is not real. A wind is not gonna be mournful, is not gonna lament, and lament is like to cry out something that you're sad about, but they're giving them human characteristics, right? Giving them human qualities, something a human might do. A human may cry out when they're really upset, like, oh no, I gotta go to online class again. So you may lament that way. Um, and then it also has here note that the attribution of animal qualities. The river slid serpentine down its accustomed path. Serpentine meaning like it's moving like a snake, right? So of course, like a river can't decide where it's going to go. It depends on where it is. Water always looks to level itself off, and that's why rivers move. So now that's not usually considered personification. I was about to say that because if it's chose to slide serpentine like down its accustomed path, then you can make a personification because it's making that choice. So, all of that being said, which may not seem like that much fun, right? I preface it like this. What I want to get today out of everyone who's here, oh, and Carlos joined too. What I want to get today out of you guys is I want you to pick an item in the room that you were spending the most time in, whether it's your bedroom, living room, wherever you're spending the most time during the quarantine. I just want you to pick an item that you see very often. Okay. You don't have to necessarily interact with it, but you have to see it. It has to be visible. And what I would like for you guys to get, oh, another thing, because I'm the poetry teacher, I don't worry about grammar, right? That's for English teacher, that's for everyone else. So don't worry about grammar right now. You can use slang, you can use languages, you can do all of that. Because like when you're doing poetry, you have this thing called poetic license, and you could break the rules of grammar all you want. It's fun, but you should still learn the laws of grammar.
Letter, right? Like he never wrote a capital letter at all. There are poets that like.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, there are poets, and then we also have words in the dictionary that got there because one day someone a long time ago said it incorrectly or started using it incorrectly, and people picked up the definition and then they added it to the dictionary. All right, and there are some slang words that were created when I was a kid that have been added to the dictionary. Okay, so so I don't care about you guys like making up words or spelling wrong. All of that can be taken care of later, whatever. But what I do want you to do is I want you to pick an item that you see often in the day, especially during quarantine, and I want you to imagine that it's human. What kind of an attitude does it have? What is it? It think of? Is it intelligent? Is it not? Is it rude or polite? Right? And I want you to you could write a poem, you could write a hip hop lyric, it could rhyme, it doesn't have to rhyme, you could write it like a journal entry. Right now, all I want you to do is to write from the perspective of that item. And I want you to write about what that item sees about you. Okay, and how that item views you. And that item is now in quarantine with you. Is that item happy that you are around more often? Or it could be your dog or cat. It could be a pet too. Are they happy you're around more often? Are they getting annoyed at you? Are they looking at you strange for doing weird things? Anything like that. So before I give you time to write, I want to make sure that I leave it open if anyone has any questions, if there's anything I said that's confusing. Ashley, anything I say confuse you or you understand?
Yeah, I got it, but I just don't know. Are we supposed to write like a paragraph, like, or I mean a poem, like Like the whole
Well,
poem or just a sentence or like.
no, everything. I want you to write, whether it's, like I said, whether it's a poem or journal entry or a monologue, like however, I just want you right now to get into the creative aspect. Last week we worried about like the boundaries and structures. Today I don't want to worry about boundaries and structures. I just want to be like creative. And I want you guys to be crazy and selfish, right? So it won't just be one sentence. I'm going to give you, let's say, like 15 minutes to just write. And of course, I'll be here in case you have questions.
Wait, do we write it in the chat or like write it on like paper or something?
Right. Well, you could either write it on Notepad or you could write it on your laptop, and then you can either then you can copy and paste it into the chat, because in the chat you may lose your progress. Right. The chat is funny. Sometimes you may hit enter and then you lose your progress trying to have a line breaker go to the next line. So try to write it like on your laptop or like Notepad or WordPad, whatever program you may have. And yeah, you can write it there. So it's not just one sentence. I want you to write as much as you can for 15 minutes when we begin. Do you understand?
Yeah, I got it.
Cool. Yaneri, what about you? You have any questions?
Can you say like the question? The question again? I don't understand.
What it means is I want you to pick an item or a pet or something that's not human that's in your house that you are seeing very often because of the quarantine. And then I
Mhm.
want you to write from the perspective of that item or pet, whatever you choose. And I want you to write about what is their life like now that everyone's in quarantine and constantly, right? So an example, let's say Yaneri, you're gonna write about your TV, you know, your TV, what would they feel? How would your TV feel ever since you've been quarantined? Do they feel appreciated because they're constantly on? Do they feel like they're being overworked because you're constantly watching it? Whatever. I want you to give that TV human characteristics, right? Almost as if it's your brother or sister, your mother or father, a grandparent, or a baby you got to look after. However you see it, um, you got to give it human characteristics. And I want to know what their life is like now that now that everyone's in the house is in quarantine, has to stay in often. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about you, Carlos? You got it? Carlos is muted.
So like if I was to say like my pillow suffocates under my head, is that like an example?
It is an example, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to, instead of saying you're talking about the pillow, I want you to act like you are the pillow, right? Like
Wait, what?
this girl doesn't appreciate me. I'm constantly being
Oh, like
suffocated
I
by
have
her
to
head. Do you
Yeah.
understand? You understand what I mean now?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Pillow is being suffocated by you, yes, but write it as the pillow. And does the pillow appreciate it? You know, maybe the pillow got some choice words from you and got some beef with you. So it's up to you to decide, right? Like maybe you and your pillow are best friends, or maybe enemies. So,
All right.
Carlos, any questions?
No, I got it.
All right, cool. So we're gonna start 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes to start, and then I'm gonna ask you guys to share what you've got, and just write as much as you can. And if you want to be funny, have attitude, and do not worry about grammar. And I'm gonna be right here, even if I turn my camera off. I'm gonna be right here if you guys have any questions.
Okay.
Also, if you want to see an example, um, on the if you can see on the computer where I'm presenting, I put up a poem of mine, and one of the personification poems I wrote, and it's about ink. So you could take if you need examples or inspiration, you could take a look at that.